Thank you guys for being patient with the technical issues. Sometimes that happens. We actually have Mercury opposing Saturn today, so communication efforts can be kind of jumbled. So it's not unusual that things like this happen when Mercury has a hard angle to another planet. That said, again, thank you so much for joining me as your guest host today on the Quantum Alignment Show. I really appreciate you guys being here, and let's just talk openly and candidly about abundance and prosperity, how you bring abundance into your life, how others bring abundance into your life, and actually what it means. So that's actually the conversation today that we're going to be having, is just looking at all the aspects of abundance. Now, I have tons of notes, but again, I'm inviting you to jump in, ask questions. If you're on Facebook, I can't see your questions, but Kristen will send them over to me. So just be patient and know that we'll get to all questions that we can. If you're on Zoom, I can see them. So first of all, I wanted to talk about the abundance by design, because each one of our designs creates abundance in a different way, or it comes up in a different way. How it is we have our projectors, we have our manifestors, our reflectors, our manifesting generators, and our generators. And for abundance to show up, the most important thing to understand about abundance for all of the human design types, and for anybody that is new to human design, this will go for everybody, but abundance comes from a feeling. It's not necessarily anything related to the outside world. Abundance is something that occurs inside of you. Now, when it starts to reflect in your outer reality, what you get is the wealth, the vacations, the beautiful flowers, the different things that will bring abundance to your awareness. And that's by your definition. So abundance can mean something completely different to me than it can to you. And it usually does. So that's why I like to clarify that abundance can be anything to you. Now, one thing that I like to also start out with is it's not necessarily about creating more money. However, a lot of times it does fall into that category. But it's about finding the passion and that purpose inside of you that makes you feel completely alive, completely in love with life. And that is what true abundance is. That's what true prosperity is. And Catherine Ponder, she's an author from, I believe, early 30s, 40s, and she talks a lot about how prosperity is just a state of mind, a state of being. And then the law of attraction piece that you bring that into, it's when you have these feelings of abundance, then you start to manifest things in your outer reality. Now, if you look at the different designs, and I'm peeking at my notes, so I'm kind of taking little things here. If we look at our different types in human design, reflectors will need 28 days, that 28-day cycle, to decide if what they really feel abundance is actually correct for them. So when you're a reflector and you're looking at abundance, let's say you want to go on a trip, and that's going to bring you that feeling of joy, happiness, fullness, completeness. It's over a 28-day period of time that a reflector would need to make sure their emotional wave stayed the same. Because if there's any dip in that, let's say on day 15, they're like, oh, I just do not want to go on this trip. There's nothing about this trip that sounds fun. It's probably a good indication that that won't bring them the feelings. Now, there's different pieces in human design that when you have a defined emotional solar plexus, you'll need to figure out your own emotional wave, of course. But in general, as a reflector, as a theme, you'll want to make sure that your emotional wave stays the same through that 28 days. So you know that that's seriously something that you want to go create, and that will give you the feelings of abundance. For a manifester, they get an idea, they've got to go out and just test it out and see what happens. See if those ideas bring fruition to like money or the vacation or something in their life that brings them that feeling of joy and happiness. Because when you bring in the full joy and happiness, you do attract great things in your life. And as a manifester, you got to go practice and just test it out. Now for the projectors, an invitation to, now for instance, let me go back. For a projector, abundance by design would be really about thinking about whether or not something fit for you or felt good for you, or if it was something you wanted to do. And then waiting for an invitation from somebody, or it can even be like an email or something, an invitation to join in whatever it is. But it has to be related to what you're trying to manifest, or what abundance, what you're trying to bring into your life with abundance. And again, it can be money, it can be vacations, it can be love. Love is absolutely a big part of abundance. And that's why I teach love and prosperity. That's my expertise. They are so intertwined. So definitely love is a piece of it. You've got to be in love with what you want to create, and you just have to be in love with it. That's abundance. Now we have the generators and the manifesting generators. They're a little bit different. The manifesting generators, they will need to, obviously, they'll get the idea and then wait to respond for any kind of universal feedback. That can be a billboard with something on it that, let's go back to the trip. I want to go on a trip to Cancun, and you're driving down the road and you see a billboard that says, book your trip to Cancun. That's a sure indication that, abundance could be waiting for you on the other side of that vacation. Now with the manifesting generator, once you get the universal feedback, you still want to envision what it feels like and then inform people, the people that are in your life, that, hey, I really want to book a trip to Cancun. I think we should do it. Manifesting generators forget to tell people what it is they want to do, and they assume that they know. Now, with the generators, it's different because they wait for the feedback, the universal feedback, and then they can go forward in doing what it is they need to do. They don't need to sit and envision and inform and do all the other stuff. However, I will say this for all types. It's always good to inform people in your life what it is you want to do, what it is that creates abundance for you, and what causes prosperity in your life to occur. The more people you inform, the more helpful it is. Now, there is a school of thought that when you're trying to manifest or create prosperity, you don't tell anybody what it is you want. You don't tell anybody your desires, because they're your secret desires, and you can have energy vampires in your life that steal your thunder. So when you're informing people, what I would like to say is I don't think it's necessary to hide what it is you want, but I do think it's necessary to be careful who you tell. So when you're informing people, I mean the people it's going to affect, like husbands, children, people that you work for, or people that work for you. So that's what I talk about when I mean inform. You don't need to go and tell all your friends and your lost relatives that you're going out and you're trying to create a new business or a fantastic trip, your dream vacation, a trip to Cancun or something like that. And that's really the basis of abundance with the 5 types. And if you guys have any questions on that, you can go ahead and send me a text and I will respond. But for that piece, the next part of really stepping into abundance and creating abundance, and this is for all of the types, is understanding that it comes from your heart. It comes from within you, and it doesn't need to make sense. So it's like it's like trying to get, let me see. It's like if somebody's telling you you need to do something, you need to go on this trip to Cancun, that's not your true desire. So it's like coming to the truth of who you are, coming back to what you truly want. Do you want to go on a trip? Do you want to create a new business? Do you want to be in a relationship with somebody? Do you want to write a book? What is it that brings your heart joy? And then with your design and your type, then you can move forward on those steps. The first steps, and that's living by your theme in human design. And then really tapping into if this is what you truly want. And that is part of deconditioning with human design, is understanding that sometimes what we want, we find out later it's not truly what we want when we really start investigating ourselves, when we go into our hearts, journal, meditate, do EFT, the tapping, different types of, energy work that helps you tap into yourself and your abundance. Those will also, you'll find out that sometimes that's not what you want. So you can always adjust. You do not have to be tied to something that you want. And I'll tell you a story. So I not recently, 10 years ago, I wrote a novel and it just fell out of me. It was written in about 3 days and I didn't finish the last 2 chapters because I was like, whoa, geez, now it's going to be done and over with. So I kind of sat on my computer literally for about 10 years. So recently, about a year ago, I decided I was going to finish the book and I was going to go out and get it published. And I wanted to do this and I was really excited about it. Now, I'm a manifesting generator by type. So I had really thought about this. I had gotten a lot of universal feedback and I did envision it and I did inform people and everybody was like, yeah, go for it. Well, I got in touch with a couple publishers and a couple editors and really found through the process that the manuscript at this point isn't something I really want to go. I might put it out on a Kindle book, but I'm not going to publish it in a hard copy and then start going out and marketing it and creating a new website for my nonfiction book or my fiction book, because I have nonfiction books. It was something that during the process, I figured out, oh, this isn't actually what I want. Now you might be asking, but wait, you had all the universal feedback, you're a manifesting generator, you envisioned it, everything was pointing to that you should do that. Yes. And through the process, I realized that's not where I wanted to go right now. And that's completely okay. And I can stand in the power of knowing that I wrote that book from a place of love and it was a creative outlet and I might do something with it along the lines, but it's not where my heart, it's not my sacral. I work with my sacral a lot. It's not what my sacral is telling me to do right now. So I'm putting it off on the side. And again, some people may say, that's your subconscious block. You're not going forward because you're scared. And truly, it's not that. So when I talk about bringing abundance and prosperity into your life, it's about, you can go on this journey, this dream, and get all of the feedback and all of the, oh, I should be doing this. And if that moment comes and it doesn't feel right, it's okay to not go forward. You're not sabotaging yourself. And when you get into sabotaging thoughts, you're really pushing abundance and prosperity away. It's the number one block for people is when you get into self-sabotaging behaviors. And I'll talk a little bit more about that closer to the end of the hour because I can help you work through those blocks.
And Mary, we did have someone ask, Prima, who I'm going to unmute and see if she can, if she's available to talk and say a little bit more about it. But she did say, I can't get the or sounds. So how do you feel, hear, or see it?
Okay, Prima, are you on the line? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So on your chart, do you have the channel 3420 defined by chance?
3420.
It'll be red or black, and it connects to the sacral all the way up to the throat.
Yeah,
You do have it?
yeah, it's red.
Yeah, okay. So is the 20, both gates, the 34 and the 20 are defined for you?
I'm sorry, I'm new to this. Where's 20?
It's okay. 20 is down at the bottom by this, the sacral, and then the 34 goes up. Or do I have that? See, let me get my,
I only have the 34 out of the sacral.
so the 20 goes all the way up.
And it goes all the way up.
Are you, okay, can you see my chart?
Yeah.
Okay, so that line right here is the 20.
Show me again.
It's this one right here. And then that's the 34 right there.
Yeah, mine is curved, but it looks like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I see the numbers.
Okay, so you said the 20 is defined?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see the 20 in the top one and the 34 in the bottom one.
Okay, and they're both have colors in them.
Yeah, they're red.
Okay, so for you, you have that is a channel. I have that channel as well, as you just know. I just showed you my chart. But that channel doesn't necessarily respond very well to the uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's actually something, the very first thing that comes out of your mouth, like, yep, nope. That's because you have a direct channel to the throat, and it's really quick, and it bypasses. It just goes really fast. So for you, the uh-huh and will actually take you completely out of that. So just go based on your first reaction. So if I were to ask you a question, do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so that's how you would do that. So you're not necessarily going for the Now, with a generator or a manifesting generator that does not have that channel defined, what I suggest for people is to do what are called sacral sessions. And you can, have a practitioner. There's many, many practitioners that Karen has. Or you can even have a friend help you, but they help you respond to questions by practicing the and turning on that sacral motor, because that's what you're really trying to get in tune with. And we've had a lot of discussions actually in our classes with Karen about sometimes people get burnt out, for instance, and they can't feel their sacral. And it's because they've been ignoring it for so long, they don't know what it feels like. So it takes these sacral sessions, practice sessions. I believe Kristen does them with clients. That's one of her services that she does. You get on the phone and she'll practice with you. And one of the things that Karen does with us is when somebody's struggling with that, she'll just go through a list of really easy questions for anybody that's on the call or on the live. Is she'll say, is the sky blue? Is the grass green? Is your house purple? So that's how you can kind of play with it in an easy, gentle way. Because one of the things, especially when we're working with prosperity and abundance, you don't want to get into being frustrated or feeling like you're not doing it right, or, doubting yourself. Those are the things that just shut all of those abundance channels down. So it's like just coming back to yourself and understanding that there's a feeling that you'll get back in touch with, and then you'll start understanding. You'll understand what that sacral motor feels like. Now, for you and me, we may not understand it for a true generator or a manifesting generator that doesn't have the 3420, but that's how they would respond. So they'll start to learn how to turn that motor back on and listen to it and then move forward with it.
Thank you so much for that, because I had a sense that something was wrong. And I do pendulum.
Uh-huh.
I always have to ask, because sometimes I'll say, show me yes, and it'll go up and down. Sometimes it'll go left and right. So it creates a doubt for me. And sometimes I feel like I'm subtly moving my finger to make it go the way that part of me wants it to go.
Okay, so with the pendulum work, because I do it as well, I work with the pendulum. Are you clearing it each time you're done with it?
I don't think so. How do you do that?
Well, you can put it in the moonlight on a full moon or even on a new moon, even though the moon's not shining, you can put it out in the moonlight. You can also, now be careful with whatever crystals you have on your pendulum or whatever, if you have different, just be careful with it. But if you can put it in salt water, but I always kind of tell people not to do that if you don't know because your minerals and your crystals can break down in salt water. So be careful doing that if you don't know what kind of materials you have on your pendulum.
Okay.
You can also, believe it or not, you can take sage like this and you can just sage your pendulum.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah. So if you do that, you'll clear it, and that way you won't get that. You'll trust it more. And also remember to thank it, because it is energy. And remember that it is you. You do control the pendulum. So that's not an outside source of you. That is an internal source. So trust that you're getting what you're supposed to get, because that's part of abundance, is trusting your internal self.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else?
Why isn't numerology a part of the system?
Oh, numerology is a part. I mean, for me, I study both I study numerology, human design, and astrology, and I blend all three of those together when I work with clients. Numerology is a big piece of abundance. You've got the manifesting triad, the 2, 4, and 8. 6 is a beautiful number for abundance. It's the same as Venus, the planet Venus. But so in my opinion, I believe that all energy work is very, very similar and tied together. I really feel like in the future, we're going to see more people use these modalities in different areas, such as like career and work, and bringing it more to the forefront so it's not considered so woo-woo and out there, but it's about truly trusting ourselves and understanding that this has been around for years and years and years, and we have access to it now. Mm-hmm. And it's everywhere. It's, the internet's relatively young. It's only about 10 years, 11 years old, if you think about it. So this information has only been out to the public for, really accessible to the public for that long. And that's not a long period of time. If you think about an 11-year-old child or a 10-year-old child, mm-hmm. And how much more they get to learn as they grow. That's how I look at numerology, astrology, and human design.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for the question. That was really good clarity, because I would have forgotten to tell you guys that. Let me see. Yes.
Okay, and then we did have some questions on Facebook. I'm not sure if now is the time you want to answer them.
Sure.
So Sue was asking, she was saying how helpful this was. She's listening because she wants to learn, because as a 5/1 projector, she's curious how to find the key to manifesting money in her chart. It seems to have an immovable judgment around money. And how might she work around or through those blocks?
Sure, perfect. And again, it was something I was going to touch base on in the end of the call, but let's just dive right into it. So abundance blocks can come from numerous sources, but the absolute biggest block for abundance, in particular with money, will come from subconscious patterns, beliefs, thoughts, and ideas that you gain from society, when you gain from your parents, your grandparents. Now in human design, we call it deconditioning, coming back to the truth of who you are. In astrology, we talk about it, just as moving through different transits and energy systems that are going on in the universe. Numerology, it's about, like for instance, on my house wasn't resonating to an abundant number, so I rectified the number by making an abundant number for both my husband and I, so wealth could flow through us easily. So when you specifically are talking about as a projector, as a 5-1, you're an investigator. So, that's part of your thing. You're an investigator, but you're also someone who, you're going to be put into a leadership position by the community by sharing. I always look at the number 5 in human design. Really, I look at it with numerology as well. It's about movement. It's about change. It's about freedom. And it's about leadership when the community puts you in that leadership role. And then you are also the investigator, the one that needs to know a lot of information before you go into something. So when you're looking at a projector, being a projector, you're going to want to, let's use money because you're talking about money. You want to create more abundance in your life. Do you have, and if she can answer me, that would be great. Do you have a vision of how you want to bring in abundance in your life? And a question for a projector would be, can you imagine what abundance looks like for you right now? How do you bring abundance in your life?
She's on the Facebook page, so she's
Okay.
not in the Zoom room.
So she can't come in. Okay, cool. So we'll just go with that. But so ask yourself, to imagine what it would be like to bring more money in your life. I want to share with you particularly, because it's like I can feel it in my heart. I want to share with you a game, and it's a fun game. And I got it from the book Happy Money, and I can't remember the author's name, but the book's called Happy Money. And it's a 2-step prosperity game. And I've been doing this. It's so much fun, you guys. But you go and you take dollar bills and you write a blessing on a little sticky note, and you wrap up the dollar bill with the sticky note, and you go put it all over, all over the city or on the bus or in an elevator. But you make it so people can actually see it, And then when you give the blessing and you leave the money, you're basically telling the universe, I trust that abundance will come back to me 100-folds, 1,000-folds, and that I have the ability to do this. And it sets in that, with the law of attraction, it sets in the vibration that you trust, that you believe that it's going to come back to you. And within 30 days of practicing this, and it happened for me, I doubled my income doing this the first month. So if you practice this and you trust it, the first thing that you'll notice is any blocks that you have around money. They'll pop up really fast. So it's not hard to identify them. It's an easy process to identify, like, why am I giving my dollar bills away when I could use them on dinner, or something like that. So you don't, and first of all, I'm not telling you to go out and give $100. You can go as little as $1 for the first month and see how that works for you. $2. You can make it as little or as much as you want. There's no set formula or set dollar bills, but it starts to allow you to trust that money is going to come back to you. And those deconditioned programs that you've received through your life, or those conditioned programs that you want to decondition, will start to show up. And then that's when I always suggest working with them in journaling, tapping, the EFT, doing meditations, like, why do I feel this way? When you look at the subconscious programs, the thing that always pops up is guilt. I absolutely believe that it's the number one killer of anybody receiving abundance in their life. And here's why. Some people feel guilty asking for money. Some people feel guilty receiving money in form of, like, let's say I wanted to take you out to dinner and I wanted to pay. How does that feel for you? Can you accept that? Can you receive it without feeling guilty? That's the question. And I had to work on that a lot for myself. I remember when I first started learning to receive, it was very hard for me. My husband bought me these beautiful diamond earrings, and I just felt like I couldn't wear them. I was afraid I was going to lose them. There were these little things that I thought I had worked through that started popping up in my life. And I was like, ooh, that's a lack thought. It's a lack thought because of something that, and believe it or not, it came from my grandmother, who was raised in the Depression. And she told me, you can have nice things, just don't wear them because you might lose them. I mean, who says that? You have nice things, wear them, feel good about it, feel confident you're not going to lose them, trust yourself. So it's coming back to that. And definitely with human design and being a projector, ask yourself those questions, imagine yourself, and then wait for the invitation. Maybe there is a way to bring more wealth through a new business venture, or maybe there's something like even getting enough strength and courage if you're in a corporate job to ask for more money, ask for a raise, and be confident in your worth. If you run your own business, for instance, raise your prices. It's not always going to be comfortable to go through your blocks. It is going to be necessary to go through your blocks. Otherwise, if you revert past your blocks, if you go back into a block, like for instance, let's go back to the earrings. I didn't want to wear them. Let's say I didn't wear them because I was afraid I was going to lose them. I'm just reinforcing the belief that I was going to lose the earrings. So that's the energy that goes out. It's not a trusting energy. And money is energy. So if I don't trust the universe to allow me to feel abundant and wear these beautiful earrings, why would the universe ever want to send me more abundance? And it's a hard question to ask yourself, because a lot of my clients, a lot of people I talk to say, no, I am a good receiver. I'm willing to have money come to me. I want money to come to me. And then they get stuck in the block. And that's where you start. You absolutely start with the block, because abundance and prosperity, remember, it's not an outside material thing. It's an internal feeling. And when you express the internal feeling, you truly have it in your internal heart, you will start manifesting it in your outer reality. There's no two ways about it.
So Sue did respond on the Facebook page, and she's in the Zoom, but I'm going to add her real quick and see if she can hear. Sue,
she's muted.
Oh, I can hear you now. Yes,
Hi,
now
Sue.
I can hear you. Ah, good. Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so as a projector, I want you to imagine what abundance looks like for you. And do you want to talk to me about what that looks like for you?
Abundance, I perceive abundance, great abundance in nature. And I literally feel the abundance in nature. I just feel incredibly rich when it comes to, and I associate richness with abundance in spiritual terms, in terms of tremendous joy and tremendous, well, you mentioned freedom earlier, the five, just the free, I'm receiving so much energy. I have such an abundance of energy. I can go for 3 days without sleeping. And I'm not a manic person, but I can open up to flow at that level, at a spiritual level, and even at a mental level. When I get talking, I can flow for hours, literally, without stopping, and just thoughts and ideas and feelings and love and joy and just fascination, enthusiasm, it just flows. I picture abundance in that way. But when it comes down to the physical world, I'm just blocked. And I do feel that it began, I have a story. I'll try not to go too long with
It's
it.
okay. We've got time. You can go into it.
Oh, good. Because it goes back to my mother's womb. It's a family story.
Mm-hmm.
It is an ancestral story. I've come to be aware of it because I have gone into these arteries that feel blocked at the psycho emotional level. It's blocked to receiving. There's such a judgment. These judgments about some of my ancestry came from on the second ship from England to escape the classism in England to America, and wanted to establish a whole new system, but it really essentially created the same system of classism with just different people running it. And then it becomes, so the other part of my ancestry are the native indigenous people here who for one person's freedom becomes somebody else's a loss of freedom, and one person's accumulation of abundance becomes somebody else's loss of abundance. So going back to that story, I both of those stories live within me as one, and it tears me to pieces because I am emotionally associated with the need to escape the oppression of classism, and at the same time then what it feels like to be the people who then become the recipients of that desperation that then results in their loss, my loss. So it ends up being our loss. Well, so that was back several generations. That branch of my family is the Kellogg family. I'm sure you're aware of the Kellogg cornflakes people.
Yep.
And I have the most, you can't believe the bitter feelings of judgment I have towards the Kellogg family because some of the Kellogg's intermingled with indigenous people and oppressed the indigenous people to the point where my grandmother had to learn to be more white than white people in order to be acceptable. And she was never acceptable by the family. Their marriage was never accepted. Their children were never accepted. The Kellogg who married my grandmother died in 1919 in the influenza epidemic, and the Kellogg family wouldn't even allow him to be buried in their plot. Not only now do you have classism, but you have racism, where one race of people thinks they're so much better than another race of people when I'm thinking to I have such anger. I know that all of these things, they've come to the surface. I'm aware of them.
Good.
I'm learning to embrace them and to honor them and respect them on both sides of the family. And that's not even talking about my father's side of the family, which is Jewish, and there's a whole story of hate. Jews are hated because they knew how to make money and they knew how to have money. Yep. And they knew how to grow money, and they were hated because they had money and somebody else didn't, and they were perceived as oppressive because of how they measure out money and establish banks. And I mean, so I'm really a living embodiment of stories that are almost irreconcilable, except that I have a very deep, deep, deep desire and commitment to resolve this. If only
Good.
within my own mind and within my own body and emotions and spirit and soul, so that I can pass on when the time comes, having made peace between all of these parts. But my vision is for, it sounds grandiose, but my vision is actually for the whole planet. And I actually feel that one person who's working through these stories that really aren't unique to me. There are thousands, millions, maybe billions of people who have similar stories that are living in them as well. And in one sense, it's holding us back. And in another sense, it's going to have a rubber band effect where it's going to, like an arrow, once we've pulled back as deeply as we can and let go of all of that, and we aim high enough, it is possible in the butterfly effect. It's deep, at a very deep level. That's how deeply my commitment goes, is, can I do this on behalf of my family, ancestrally, and who are living today? I'm doing it. And can I do it on behalf of the entire planet and everyone who draws a breath? Well, I hold that in my highest and deepest aspiration. So when my mother found out that she got pregnant.
Hold on really quick. Because I want to step you there. I want you to understand that, what do you feel that could be your responsibility, your obligation on the spiritual side to bring this dichotomy together and to make an understanding? Maybe that was your sole purpose. I feel it was. In fact, I feel this is such an incredible unfolding of awareness that has occurred in me. Good.
I actually felt myself with life before I was conceived in my mother's womb.
That's very cool.
And all of life around me, the real sages, the real creators, the real makers of life, were almost scratching their head, looking at this planet and looking at what's going on here. And I'm 77 years old. I feel like I'm ageless and timeless and young in an eternal youth sense. I'm not in denial about physical age, but in another sense I am. I actually don't believe in it. I'm an Ayurvedic health consultant, and I actually don't believe in it. But, I'm not going to get into that argument with people. People can argue for their limitations, exactly, and they get to have them.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm with all of these incredible beings, and I'm not an individual entity at that point. I'm just life within them and around them, and I'm listening to them, and they're just wondering, what can we do about this dilemma on the planet? It's just ongoing. And this was grandiose. Now I will admit it was incredibly grandiose, but my arm shot up in the air. I didn't even have an arm yet, so it was energy. Mm-hmm. And it said, I'll do it. I'll go. Just tell me what to do. I'll go. I'll do it. And what did I find myself? Conceived in my mother's body. And when she found out, she told me this, literally, she told me this, because when I was studying Ayurveda, I could feel things opening up inside of me. And I began to ask, how far back do I have to go to heal what is going on in my own ancestral wounding in order to be an effective person on the planet? And mm-hmm. I'm willing to do that. So part of it was to go back even into my own mother's womb. And I asked her about it right after, while I was studying, and without any blame or shame or finger pointing or fault finding, to just ask, did anything happen while I was in your womb that might have been traumatic? And that she could never even look me in the face. She tried to have an abortion 3 times with me, she said. 3 times. She said, when I found out I was pregnant with you, I had your sister. I was planning to leave your father. I wasn't happy. I didn't want to be in that relationship or marriage or situation. So she said, I tried to abort you and it didn't work. She said, then I tried again, it didn't work. Then she said, I looked for a back, because at that time they weren't legal. She said, I went to a back street person to have an abortion from him, and he said, you're too far along, I won't touch you. So she said, I had no choice but to go ahead and have you. Well, I didn't even have a normal birth. They actually went in and by cesarean, I was born. So, and I remember feeling in her womb, I said, thank you for telling me this, because I don't know what it was, but I felt it was unsafe. And I felt very angry. I felt very angry at the makers who, when I said I'll go, and they put me in a place like that was so inhospitable, and where I had come from was so incredibly warm. Talk about abundance. There was just absolute, total, complete love.
Right. And I want to actually stop you right there, because I think that that's a really important piece of this when you brought up, I feel this in nature. I feel this out when I'm connected. I felt this in my mother's womb. And now you're in this physical body living a human experience, and you still have the awareness of the abundance.
Right.
There's a bridge for you, and you're very close to it, because first of all, the wounds of the mother's womb, Paige asked on the Zoom question if you can have an awareness of all of this. I believe she's talking to you. And I know from other people that I've worked with, absolutely, you can have an awareness of, it's subtle, but some people can have awareness of being with their twins in the womb and their conversations that they had, even though they didn't have language. So there is definitely an awareness. You can tap into it. But you, Sue, for you, and when you're looking at abundance and bringing prosperity and money in particular into your life, I would suggest working with definitely the deconditioning of the stories.
Okay.
Because when you work on deconditioning all of those stories, the families, you have literally 2 opposite sides of the abundance that you're working with. And those, believe it or not, I know they're a part of you, but they're not your stories. Right. You're living them out because you brought them in, but they're not your stories.
Thank you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's almost like I'm a volunteer, like a sacrificial volunteer. I'm willing. I remember feeling I'm willing to do this. And there was a point when this was opening up for me. I wanted to say, can I change my mind? And it's like, no, you can't. No, you've got to go through with this now. And this is where I didn't experience the natural birthing process, where I've learned physically the battering of the head against the uterine wall is actually like a pump on the top of the head, that fontanelle.
Yep.
There's actually something that takes place in the development of the brain in that natural process that I'm thinking now, when I began to learn about this and get in touch with my own body-mind wounding was, that never developed in me then, because I didn't have, in the cesarean birth, I didn't, that exercise of the brain, of that chakra, it wasn't activated in a way that brought me into this physical world to be able to. I have no problem. I get deluged with spiritual download.
And
deluged.
I need to interject real quick, Sue, because we do have about 5 minutes left. And we have some other questions that I'm married to ask real quick. So, Sue, if you did have a post on the Facebook page, and so I'm going to have Mary touch base with you from there, and y'all can hook up and
absolutely
finish the conversation.
Great. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing, Sue.
Okay, one of the questions that we had was, Jeff, he missed part of the $1 bill technique.
Can I repeat it?
Yeah, can you repeat that? Or can he go to your blog or an article to find that?
Sure. I haven't blogged about it, but thank you for giving me that, because I have been thinking about what I should blog about. So you just informed me that I should do that. It's called The Happiness, or The Happy Money is the name of the book. I don't remember the author's name. I apologize. I didn't know I was going to be talking about it, or I would have had her. It's a woman, and you can find it on Amazon or Kindle. Happy Money, the technique is you can start with $1, $2, whatever it is you feel comfortable in, and you take that, and this is a private little game. It's not something you gather a bunch of people around, but you write a blessing on it. For instance, I wrote, well, this is the one I usually write, but I've written some other ones, but the one I just wrote last week was, may all your days be filled with happiness, joy, and unexpected wealth. And I put it on a little, like a sticky note basically, and roll it up in $1. And then I go out into the public, like the library or the grocery store, or I've even left them, I've put them in lots of people's mailboxes. So you can do whatever it is, wherever you want it to be. That's where your first step is. And that is giving the universe a trusting signal that I trust that abundance will come back to me. Once you do this, once you leave the gift, you say to yourself and affirm to the universe, thank you so much for providing me with this money so I could give it as a gift. And I understand by my trust in you, and you can make your own blessing up, by the way. My understanding is, and my trust in you is that I will receive this 100 times, 1,000 times back to me because I trust and I know that money wants to flow. There's some studies on the flow of money, alchemy, and why money likes to not be stagnant. It likes to flow. It's energy. Everything likes to flow. The more something just sits still, it gets kind of ugh. So that's the premise behind it. Now, the second step, so you say you give your $1, that's your first step. The second step is doing the thank you for allowing me to give this gift, and I affirm that I will receive 100, 1,000 times folds back, and allow other people to be happy. And then watch for blocks that pop up. Because when you're doing this, I think I started doing this, I think the first time I did this game was like in 2008, and I didn't know this actual technique. I didn't read the book Happy Money until a long time ago, or just recently. But I started doing this technique was just the spiritual laws of tithing, 10% of your money to tithing. And I started just giving money to places that I got my spiritual wealth. My spiritual abundance. My spiritual abundance is very different, and it will be different for everybody than is my monetary wealth, my monetary abundance. But when I started tithing to my spiritual bucket, for instance, the library, any place that I would go listen to speakers and stuff, I would tithe, and I started just seeing money increase in really unexpected ways, just interesting ways. So I started seeing things manifest. So you'll see things manifest when you tithe, when you do this game. The blocks that could pop up are things like, why am I giving my money away when I could use it for dinner? Why, what if it doesn't come back to me? That's a trust issue. What if it doesn't come back? But what if it doesn't work? It works for everybody else. The other thing is just guilt that you are asking for the money to come back to you. Some people are like, but I should just give and give. Well, we all need to live. We all need to prosper. We're all here to expand. So that's really part of abundance, is trusting that you deserve it too. It's your birthright. So you can ask for it back and not feel guilty about it. So when you have these, and this isn't in the book, Happy Money, this is just an addition. When you have the blocks pop up, that's where you really want to work on the EFT, the tapping, the the journaling, the meditations, working with a coach, working with a human design practitioner to decondition the subconscious conditioning that you've picked up along the way, those thoughts, those ideas. Because remember, abundance is the feeling. Prosperity is the state of being. And I can't emphasize that enough. You will start to manifest more money, more happiness, more joy, more better health. You'll start to manifest things in physical form when you wake up and you feel abundance. Like, you think about it. When you wake up and you see that joy, like you're just so happy and you know it's going to be a great day. I mean, 9 times out of 10 it is. The only time it ever goes off is if there's a subconscious belief that doesn't necessarily, that's kind of, for instance, if you have a dream and it pops up and then maybe your day takes a different shift. That's just because your emotion has shifted.
Okay, so what happens if those things, those blocks come up, guilt, trust issues, what steps can they take to decondition the belief?
Absolutely. Well, again, to decondition the belief, you can work with a practitioner on that, doing the tapping and the EFT, and there's journaling that you can do. I always suggest you get to the root of where the guilt is coming from. Because when you can get to the root of it, like I was talking with Sue, the reason why I let her go on is because she had a big story. And if you notice, she started out talking about birds and feeling abundant and love and joy and complete, and then went into other people's stories. Those weren't her stories. She went into other people's stories. Those are the blocks. So it's coming up with, do I want to hold on to these stories anymore? Are they serving me anymore? And that's
are we storyless beings?
Are we what?
The story, are we beings without stories and we just keep taking other people's stories?
Well, we definitely manifest in our lives, definitely on stories that we've heard through our lives. That doesn't mean that's wrong, but it does mean that if we tap back into ourselves and we come back to the truth of who we are, just like I suggested to Sue, maybe her spiritual reason for being here, her purpose, is to release these stories once and for all. And maybe, just maybe, wealth, I'm talking money, is for everybody. I mean, imagine that thought. Do we ever have discussions with our children about that? Or do our grandparents, or with our parents, or our neighbors, do we ever just have these discussions like, what would it be like if everybody had money? If nobody had to live in lack and poverty? Now, that's a really cool world. I want to live in that world. And yeah. I think we can. I really think we can. It's going to take a while, but it's the deconditioning. So are we storyless people? No, I think that we are stories. I've had experiences in my life that nobody had anything to do with. I created them on my own, but I also recognized that I had to deal with those stories so I could come and teach people about abundance. I created my own. I've been $75,000 in debt and cleared it within 2 years because I know that I was here to teach people about how to bring abundance into their life. So I had to go through it, and nobody taught me that story.
Awesome. So I want to just give you a quick chance to talk about your gift. I have posted it on the Facebook page, and I'll post it again in the chat.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, for anybody who feels like that they want to get into the feeling, connect to prosperity and abundance in less than 20 minutes a day so you can bring more joy, happiness, and money, physical money into your life, I'm offering 5 free meditations. And really, it's to get you into the awareness that when you feel abundant, that's when you can manifest prosperity. That's when you can manifest all you want. And usually when the money starts to come up, like when you start to receive the money, you realize abundance is something bigger. Like really having those times to go on a vacation with your family, like Disney World or something fun like that. Now it does take money to go to Disney World. So it's all intertwined, but it's really about that feeling. And the meditations, if you go to bit period dot ly/prosperity meditations, they are there. All you do is put in your email address and they'll be delivered to you right away. And that's complimentary. It's just to help you get in touch with those feelings of prosperity and joy.
And keep the conversation going by posting on the Facebook page, because Mary will be checking that and answering questions
Yes.
that other people still have. So,
Yes.
And we did have one last question,
Sure.
which you can address now if you have time, or you
Sure.
can address on the Facebook page. Somebody was saying, so what if guilt is from the I am not worthy of receiving money or love? And
Yeah,
so
it's probably one of the very biggest ones that we deal with as humans. And what I say is it is a daily practice of self-love and working with why you are worthy, pivoting from your lack beliefs that you're not worthy, because you were born. Because you were born, you're worthy. And so it's always reminding yourself that you are here for a very powerful reason. It is a daily practice. It does take work. It's a simple practice, but it's not always easy. And that's why I always say get support if you need it. There's lots of people out there that can help you see the beauty of who you are. I mean, just your friends know all of your beauty. If you're having a hard time tapping into it, ask them. What good things do you know about me? And or just reach out and I'm here to tell you how beautiful you are. It's definitely part of my message.
awesome. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you guys for having me.
So much fun. And look forward to having you back on the show at some point.
Yes, thank you so much. Mwah. Love and hugs, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.